Now, do you have many open air preachers of the gospel on the streets of Liberia, or?
Yeah, we had open air preachers and we still have them, but our only fear is that when we were making the call today, when I was left and when somebody called me and said they have changed our Pinsville City Mayor. I was telling you that, before I came, there was an announcement that, the city mayor for Pinsville banned, public preaching.
They're trying to ban street preaching. When I was there, we could preach all we wanted because of the devastation. But see, now it's moving back again.
Yeah. So just as we just got through talking, when somebody called me from Liberia, he said they had changed the mayor for Pinsville. So I just hope that that is taken care of. But I see it gradually going back. Almost if we don't pray, it will almost be like China, where you don't preach in the street, this and that. It's getting hard because nowadays the Bible has been taken from public school.
Yeah, again.
Is this in Liberia? The Bible's been taken out?
Yeah, from the public school. You don't teach Bible in the public school, and that is the first time in the history of Liberia since 1822 for a government to come out and say they don't want Bible in the public school, because other denomination is saying that they also want to teach in the public school.
Well, that's
so because of the political side of it.
But I believe it's coming out of America because that's where we're at. They're saying, we don't want you to have your Bible if they can't have the Quran, if they can't have Confucius and so on and so on.
Okay.
They want that liberty. If you're going to allow Christianity, then you must allow Muslims. You must allow Confucius or whatever it is.
Exactly.
But here's the thing of true Christendom, and I feel that's where we're heading. America is a great country, any country that serves God, but America is not the same America that started out with. And that's where we're at. We're not the same country we used to be. God is when I remember when the towers came and they were hit, when we had 9/11, me and Brother Patterson was on our way to go into Argentina at one occasion. And I remember, we were getting ready to fly out, and then we had the terrorist attack, and when that happened, then they shut everything down. So right after they shut everything down, there was a little space of time. We had to change our flight, but probably within a week or even less, we were able to fly out. We still had our flight. We went to Argentina. The platform was set because once that devastation came to America, the people in Argentina, basically their jaw was hanging down. They just couldn't believe that a country so strong could have such an attack. So that gave us a platform. They put us on television. And God opened the door.
Wow.
And so they have us on television to explain why do we think a country so great as America could have that happen. And I thank God it was a great opportunity. The tragedy for what happened, I don't condone any of that, and I pray for that and for the people. But and they asked the question, like many ask, is God against us? Is it because America is being brought down? There was a lot of questions, but if I remember right, I began to say, listen, here's what I feel, and I feel this like in any country. I use my relationship between me and my wife. I've been married almost 40 years. I said, as long as I'm there in that house, I protect my wife. I provide for my wife. I work hard for her. I love her. I take care of her. No one comes in and attacks her. They got to come through me. And I begin to be that guard. And so I said, but suppose I begin to notice my wife takes my pictures down. I was telling people this, I believe it was in Argentina on the television. I said, if they take my pictures down, my wife begins to take my pictures down, don't want to talk to me. Pretty soon I notice she's got other pictures hanging up, no longer me. And one day I come home and she set my clothes outside and the door is shut, and now I got the picture. She's put me out. She doesn't want me now. I said, now she's open game. There's nothing. I didn't leave her. She left me. And I said, when America begins to push God out, no more prayer in school, cutting God out. Don't want to mention the name of Jesus. Mention anything, but don't preach in that name. When you begin to push him out, then if God be for us, who can be against us? But when God be against us, how's he against us? He simply walks away from us. And he shows us the back and not the face. And so I said, if my wife did that to me, I didn't leave her. She pushed me out. She fell out of love with me. And now she has a love for another. Then no longer can I stand there to protect her. I can know she's open prey. America becomes open prey when she turns away from the living God that's kept her. It's not been our government policies. It's not been our aircrafts and all the ingenuity of man's technology. It's been by the mercies and grace of God, because when we stay faithful to his word, If my people that are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked way, then I will hear from heaven, forgive sin, and heal their land. We, as the Christians, stand responsible for the conditions and the present conditions that we're in. We can either let the light shine or let it be darkened. And so what God's called us to be is the vehicle of expression by which we can let the light shine and we can become responsible. God said to Abraham, if I can find 10, I will not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah for 10's sake. He couldn't find them, and so Sodom was destroyed. So we see the responsibility of the church in general. When that church, now we can blame all the Congress and all the economy, but this is why as a preacher and evangelist, God uses that church. She becomes the pillar and ground of truth. And when that church begins to no longer stand for what God's called it to do by the operation of His Spirit, judgment begins at the house of God first. So what I see in my streets, I mostly see in a lot of the churches. And when you see that happens, it blends over. So I have to say that as responsibility for America is that the church in general. That's why as a preacher, I preach to the churches. God deals with the churches. She's responsible for her country. She's responsible for her nation. In the regards when the principles are right, the church is right, then people look over their shoulder and take note that this is a holy people. And they get answers. There was darkness all over Egypt, but there was light in Goshen. It speaks a great similitude of what the church can be if it rises up and it is holy and it makes the decisions. Not better than anybody, not bitter than anybody, but responsible to say, if men are to be saved, if my people, he said, my people called by my name, they'll humble themselves. If I can deal with them, I can find somebody that I can turn. I said this to preachers in conventions. I said, when God sent Jonah to Nineveh, He has no problem turning the country of Nineveh around once He turns the preacher around. He turns the preacher around. What He did in Jonah, now He can turn the city around. It has to be that way. That's responsibility. I want to say this. I didn't even tell you this, Brother Mark, but the Lord showed me probably a month ago that some tragedies coming to America. I saw people standing in line like it was in the day of Depression, trying to stand for commodities. They put things in shelf, put gates up. They divided families. It was horrible. I remember that there come time when they decided to give commodities to help people to feed them. And if you weren't there at that time when they handed it out, if you're coming late, you didn't get nothing. It was in a dream. I saw it just recently. And I remember I got to that gate and the gate had been shut. And they had these little open places where they put food in for people to come and get it. And when I got there, part of my family got in and they got their food, but we were separated until the next time of feeding, until the next time they decided to hand it out. There was a partition that separated us. If your family was here and you was there and they were doing certain things, if you weren't there at a certain time, then you were here and your family was there. And that was what was happening. And they put the food in a special place. And I walked up to this big gate. I pulled this drawer out where some food was, and all was left is just some pieces where it's already been, I was too late to get it. They had already dispersed it. And if you don't get it at that time, you go without. And in that dream, I remember it was just a few kernels like of corn. People were wailing behind me and crying because part of the families were there and part of them got fed, but part of them didn't. And I was trying to gather the fragments of the particles out of the drawer, and I was just handing out a little piece of corn, trying to get the people to have something to eat. I believe we're going to see hard times come. It's imperative. I mean, the coming of Christ is at hand. And we're not a doom and gloom preacher. We can see manna from spiritual water from the rock and manna from heaven. We're not governed by a society. We are the society that should govern everything, and I believe that. And I've seen tragedies come. I just shared with you just recently. The Lord came to me in a dream and showed me being in Yugoslavia. I haven't got that access open yet. It's amazing to me now. I think I shared it with you. Out there in the parking lot, I said the Lord gave me a dream about being in Yugoslavia. I had a dream, don't know nothing about Yugoslavia. Didn't go to bed thinking about Yugoslavia. Right. And I come, and I'm standing at the border of Yugoslavia, going through customs to go from one country to the next. And I'm there, I have my hands raised, they're searching me to go through. And a man says to me, have you got any money? A Yugoslavian. He was an inspector checking me to see. And I said, well, there was a guide with me, and I don't know who he was, but he was there to lead me as an interpreter. I said, well, he has some. He had Yugoslavian money. I didn't have any exchange. And he asked him, how much money do you have? He said, well, I have about $35. And the man from Yugoslavia that was at the custom borderline said to me, he said, well, that won't be enough to help the children. He had a compassion for his people and those children in there. And I opened my billfold, and I had plenty of money to take into that country. God showed me that. So I know I'll probably be going to Yugoslavia. Well, lo and behold, I have no idea about Yugoslavia. I was recently down in West Virginia where my daughter Janelle is, And I was in the car, and I went out to dinner with my son-in-law Stephen and my daughter. And he said, he started talking about his neighbor. He said, yeah, that man. He said, he only comes once in a while. He's from Yugoslavia. And so I'll be talking to that man pretty soon.
Right.
He's a pilot or something from Yugoslavia, and he comes and goes and stays at the condo. Right. And so I ain't that something. So
right.
And the Lord showed me Nova Scotia. He showed me a big. I don't understand all that. I just trust the Lord, but